The cervix-free leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, is back in the news outlining the fifth of his so-called missions, this one to sort out education. First up, he's going to change the current curriculum to improve pupils' oratory and public speaking. A bit ironic coming from Starmer, whose communication skills are up there with the Elephant Man. The teaching unions responsible, let's not forget, for those disgraceful school closures during the pandemic are delighted with Starmer's proposals, although they press the Labour leader on the issue of investment, which you and I know is a snake oil term, which means more borrowed billions. Are you telling me that Starmer won't give in to the inflation-busting demands of not just the teaching unions, but the doctors, the nurses, the civil servants and everyone else in the public sector? Do me a favour. This is his political constituency. The unions bankroll his party, and they've got him by the short and curlies. I would say they've got him by the balls, but he doesn't have any. Public sector unions will be expecting a cash bonanza when he gets in. And if he doesn't yield to their demands, I predict an all-out war within the soon-to-be governing Labour Party. The teaching unions say they want less testing and fewer exams. In other words, they hate accountability. If they have their way, which under a Labour government, of course they will, academic standards will plummet. And for all our youngsters, it will be a race to the bottom. And Starmer plans to have more focus on creative subjects. Yeah, that's really going to help us compete with China and South Korea, isn't it? With more photography classes. If drama, knitting and cake making don't boost the economy, nothing will. Look, I'm sure Keir Starmer is a decent enough guy with half a brain as well. His decision to scrap the insane idea of spending £28 billion annually on a so-called green revolution reflects the fact that they're getting serious about power. He's pushed back on free school meals, citing the potential cost, and it's hard to argue with his plan of 500,000 more children reaching early learning targets by 2030. But does he really mean any of it, given the fact that he does more U-turns than Maureen from driving school? Have you ever met a Keir Starmer fan? Even his own side don't like him, with Starmer out trending on Twitter regularly. And I'm also worried about Starmer's political judgment. This is a guy that campaigned for Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister, which would have been an economic and national security disaster. He campaigned to reverse Brexit. And he's completely out of touch with the British public with his inability to define what a woman is, even though he's married to one. Another example of his extremely poor judgment is his headline-grabbing plan to end the charitable status of private schools. Clearly red meat for those on the left of his party to keep them happy. Firstly, it's unethical and illogical to tax any academic institutions which seek to educate people, especially ones that do it well. How is that in the national interest? But it's also counterproductive given the fact that poorer kids will have to leave the private sector. That means the state will pick up the bill for their education. With pressure on school places already, more schools would be needed to be built, more teachers, more costs, negating any income from this policy. It's cultural vandalism, it's spiteful, and it makes no sense. It's pure politics. It's pure Starmer. Shame on Sir Keir for making young people a political football. The only exciting part of today's speech was when Starmer was interrupted by eco-campaigners. Take a listen.
Places barriers, not just economic barriers.
Reinstate your pledge for 28 billion per year.
I gave on the mission on green power. We did that last one. We've done that one. Will you just...
Which side are the Labour Party on?
We are on the side of economic growth. Will you just let me please get on with this? Thank you very much.
Stop making U-turns here.
Thank you. I think they may have missed the fact that the last mission I launched was on clean power by 2030.
Starmer there almost lost for words, a rare blessing for us all. I thought the tone of their protests was interesting. The Green lobby feel they own this guy, so expect many more campaigns of this nature should Starmer enter number 10. Labour have taken over £1.5 million in donations from top businessman Dale Vince, who backs Just Stop Oil. Did this influence Starmer's decision to scrap new oil and gas licences in the North Sea? You tell me. Owned by the unions, owned by the Corbynites and owned by Green fanatics. From day one, Starmer will be in office, but not in power. And Starmer's plans for education won't work. He hasn't done his homework and his sums don't add up. With his talk of his exciting 5 missions, he thinks he's Tom Cruise, but he's more tomfoolery. 5 years of Starmer will be mission impossible.